Welcome back to my channel. Normally, yes, we are playing video games, but today I've decided that we are going to learn how to code programming. Programming is fun. Everybody should know how to program. It's not that bad. It's a whole bunch of, you know, it's all about the logic and the language. And the language I've decided to now try teach you guys is going to be Java. See, Java, it's been around for a very, very long time. It's pretty good. Get you thinking. Plus, once you learn your first programming language, learning another one's not that hard. Similar syntax, logic's the same. So in order to get started, you need to head over to, you need to head over to Java. You need to get a JDK. So if you go Java JDK, preferably the latest one, 16. And then for the second thing that you'll require is an IDE. So, there's NetBeans, there's Visual Studio, there's Eclipse. It's like that all depends on your preference. But for the sake of myself and many people, we are just going to be using Apache NetBeans. So you're gonna just search NetBeans and should come up first link. Then you come over to find out more at the top here. I'm going to be using 12.4 because it's the latest edition as of recording this video. And now let's get into the basics. So once you've installed NetBeans and once you've got this thing going, shouldn't be hard. It's pretty much just click next and accept some terms and conditions. You're going to want to create a project. But before I do all of this, let's look at this. Most tutorials out there just show you hello world and how to print it out into the console. But we're gonna do it differently. Well, of course I'm gonna show you how to do that because that's just basics. But we're gonna learn about data types. So, for instance, there's a few data types. You can think about a type as, let's use this as an analogy. It's like you want to store water and you get a cardboard box. The water will break down the box and then it won't be able to store it. But if you've got a plastic container or a bottle, you'll be able to store the water because water can be stored in the bottle, for instance. So there's a few main types. So first of all, a very important one is the string type. Then there's integers. Then there's Booleans. Probably should get rid of the S's for the sake of making life easier. And those are the main types. So, string, what does this store? String stores text in simple terms. Well, it actually stores, forgot another big one. There's characters, which is a char. Now, string stores a whole bunch of chars because text is made up of characters. Now, Boolean is either true, false. Integers, now this is where it gets a bit complex, so you're going to have to think now with me, right? So there's an int. Int can store whole numbers. Then you get doubles, and you'll type it like this, not capital. Doubles. These can store values with decimal places. And then we get longs, long. You won't use this in a hurry, so I'm just going to leave it for now. Longs get used occasionally, but not much in a hurry, because you can normally use an integer or double instead of that. And characters just stores characters, like individual characters. So you're going to store something in a character. You would put these single things, and then you're going to put the letter S, for instance. You don't store a number. And to store a string, you have to use the double ones. So like that. Those is basically the simple terms of data types and how they're going to work. Now, you also get to some very fundamental things, such as for loops, while loops, very important. And then we also get if statements. These are like the basics. And then there's a switch statement. Now you can use all of these things to write some pretty basic programs, which I'm going to, well, teach you now actually. So let's start off with, I'm going to be using Java with ants, and you click Java application after clicking the new project thing. So, and I'm going to untick create main class. I'm going to name this one learn, because, you know, or teach, whatever you want to call it. You can even name it hello world if that's what you're feeling like. And now it created this project, and we have libraries and source packages. Now under source packages, you're going to right click and you're going to create a package. You know, a package to store all of the beautiful code you're going to write in Java, of course. Now, I'm going to name it headshot. You can name it yourself, your own name. You can name it whatever you desire, but preferably something like your name. And now you're going to come here, you're going to right click again, and now we're going to make a class, because Java code gets written into classes, which are stored in packages, which get stored in the source packages, and that's the project. So now let's make a class. Let's name it basic output. Basic out. There we go. Oh man, there we go. Click enter, and now we're faced with this. I'm gonna zoom in here. To zoom in, it's alt, and then you click like the mouse wheel. You scroll in and scroll out. That's how you zoom in and out. So now we have a class. So what do we do with the class? Well, simple answer is we're gonna code in it. But what is a class? A class is just where everything takes place, simple terms. So for instance, I don't know why is it going to do this to me? There we go. So to start off with, in NetBeans is a shortcut to go public static void main. It's ps vm tab. But if you don't know how to do that, so you're using Eclipse or Visual Studio, which I'll cover in another video, probably. Public, because public means anyone can access it, or it's public is just accessed by anyone. Actually, let's add that to the text field. So now there's also variable. Okay, let's just name it declarations and call it a day. Declaration. Yeah. Okay. Well, there's public. There's no caps. That's how you get it wrong. There's private. And then there's something else, but we're going to get to it some other day, not today. So public means anyone can access it. Private means only the class, like this class, basic out, only methods in this class or whatever you have in this class can access it. So for starters, let's go simple. So let's just say we want to print something out to the terminal, the output. So we can go system dot out dot print ln. Now there's something very important you have to look out for here. So you can also go system.out, but instead of going print ln, ln stands for line, you can go print. Now if I had to do print, let me show you what would happen. So let's say we go, what should we name it? What should we print out to the world? Let's say hello, and my name on YouTube. Why not? The channel name. Hello Headshots. So now we've got this code. System, that's the system. Out, okay, and print it. Out referring to this output or the terminal, depending how you're going to run it. You're going to come up here and you're going to click like this broom/hammer thing, and it's going to compile the program. You can't run it without compiling a program. And the first time you run a program, once you click run, you're going to get this. Now don't be scared of it, something big. Project learn teach does not have a main class. Now you have to have a main class in order for everything to run through it. Basically, it's like in charge, like it's the big one, it's the boss. Let's say it like that. But then because I put the words public static void main. This has a main class and it has like a green arrow there. So we can select it from here. We can select it as to run it. So now when I click run, it runs this class. And I get hello, headshot, correct. But now if I had to put print line, ln, if I run it again, it does the same thing. If I go ln here and I run it again, now it's on two separate lines. Let's just say we want to be cool, right? So let's just say we're not feeling like, let's say we're not feeling like spelling out all of this nonsense, okay? Because let me be honest, sometimes doing it takes a lot of time and energy. So the shortcut in NetBeans again, SOUT, SOUT, tab. There we go. Now this is not a print line. But now let's integrate what I was talking about. The data types, like variables. Because variables are cool and they're going to get you very far in the world. Same like semicolons, very important. Like, if you go check out those memes that have semicolons. But anyway, string. Let's say we want to store I want to store my channel name, but I don't want to type it out here. So I'm going to copy that. And now let's just say name, and let's just name this one name. So then they linked. And paste and semicolon. No semicolon equals red line. Red line equals bad for you. Semicolon. I'm going to save that. I'm going to compile it. I'm going to run it. And wow, I stored something in my box over here. Let's think about it as a box. And this is my print line. Went to my box, fetched what was stored in it, and it printed box. Or it printed my box, which is named name. Now you see how they linked? They linked. Now we can also play around with some other types. Let's say we want to make an integer and year. There we go. So we go integer, int for integer, because we're going to store a whole number and it's not required to use a double. We can, but we're not going to. Int here is equal to, because we've got to make the box equal to something, but we don't always have to. We can just leave it as a blank empty box. And if I had to print out here, it will give a red line because there's not initialized, nothing in it. So that's why you gotta basically make it equal something. So we could say 0 and we can print that. And we should get hello 0. But now let's say we want to be realistic, we're living out here in 2021 and we run that. Now it prints out what's stored in our box, which is named year. Okay, well now it printed out year. Pretty basic, correct? Well, I hope it is, because not that bad. So we've talked about, oh yes, let's talk about a char, for instance. We talked about this. We're probably not going to cover this as of right now, for instance. We can also get a double. Let's just say we want to store money, for instance. But money has cents. So if you put a whole number, it won't work because you're going to forget about the cents and then it's going to be lost. And you can't be losing things like money, for instance. So let's say double, and we're going to name it. This is a data type, double, and we're going to name it money. And now we're going to make the money box equal to, let me think, let's say 12,5. So now the box money of data type double is equal to that double amount, this number, 12.5. But now look what happens if I went to this integer box and I try to put 12.5. Error! What's the error? Incompatible types, lossy conversion, because it's going to get rid of the decimal places and then you're going to be wrong. That's not going to work very nicely. Money. So now it's going to print out money. F6. There we go, 12.5. Now the cool thing about a system or a print line, or anywhere you're really going to print out, is you can put a plus sign, and let's just say we're going to say that's $12.5 for instance. So now it's this text plus what is stored in the box money. If I run it, $12.5. There we go. Like we can see it. So there's also true or false, like yes, no, because that is what true or false is. Yes is true and false is no. Or ones and zeros. I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, 1 is true and 0 is false. I'm pretty sure that was the case. There's a data type like that in Java. It's called a Boolean. Boolean, let's say subscribe. Why not? And by default, a Boolean will store the value. Let's find out. By default, it stores the value. Well, you have to make it equal something, as I said earlier. So let's say it's going to equal to true, because I would love you guys to subscribe, because I'm trying really hard on shit, but hello, and I printed the word true. You can also make booleans equal to false. You can run that. Now we get a false. Now those can be very useful in if statements, and even perhaps in loops, like a while loop. That could be very useful. So that's a Boolean. And then there's one more type I'm going to talk about right now. Char. Char A is equal to A. Oh, yes, why did I do that? I have no idea. It's like char, we created a new box of type char, so it can store a single character. And it's storing the alphabet A, lowercase a. But now, if I had to print A, it prints out A. But what's cool here is, considering there's something called the Ascii values. Let me see if I can find like an Ascii table quick. The Ascii table. Ascii table, very useful with regards to working with chars. So if I go to, I want a basic one, not one that's going to confuse everyone. Here we go, perfect. An Ascii table. So decimal, hexadecimal, char. Hex, yeah. So if we go down to like around 97. If I go int var equals to a. So now integer type, because chars, all characters are actually just numbers, because everything is just numbers, like ones and zeros, and hexadecimal, and that's a story for another day. But anyway, char a equal to a. Integer, made another box of integer type, we named it var, and that's also equal to this char of a. Now if I try print out var, you're going to see what's going to happen. It prints out the number 97, and if we pull up the Ascii table, 97 is the character A. Now those are what you call conversions. So you can convert a string, like name. So if I go, let's say we want to make year store the amount of money. But now the problem is if we convert like this, it will chop off the 0.5. So you should get 12 or it rounds up. We'll find out very shortly. So for instance, if I go to, and let's just say I say year equals, and in brackets, we put integer because we want to change it to an integer. You know what I'm saying? Money. And we put a semicolon. See? Not much happening. And now if I put year over here in this field, save it, you run it, and it's still printing out 12. Well, not 12.5 now, but 12 instead, because it cut off it because it wasn't decimal places. Decimal places have been removed. You can convert strings to chars and chars to strings. You can convert integers to doubles and doubles to integers. Booleans can't really be converted to much things. And that's that basics of variables.